Hello, hello, hello. This is Lee Fuller, aka the Funnel Helper, and I am excited about what we're going to talk about today. So, tell your neighbor, tell your friend, blah blah blah. I'm on in the afternoon. I guess this is evening, because I'm trying to be more consistent, and I got something to say. So if you're I'm trying to be consistent and got something to say. So I'm going to tell you what I got to say. But today. I'm talking about your most profitable branding assets. Your most profitable branding assets. So if that's something that you're interested in learning about and make sure you're doing it right, make sure you are tuning into this podcast. I almost said podcast. I've been recording my podcast, so I've been saying a lot of podcast stuff lately. But I am on where am I? I'm on Facebook right now. And one of the things that's keeping me consistent is I have team members and she'd be like, hey, I didn't see your Facebook Live go up. So if you want to be consistent, creating accountability is one way to do it. Take it from somebody that's being forced to do stuff that he doesn't normally do because I'm being held accountable to it. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump in this tonight. I think I got the books on. I got the Facebooks on. I'm just checking my screen real quick. I think I got my Facebooks on. And I'm going to go ahead and we're going to talk about it. So, what is the most valuable business asset? Your most valuable branding asset, I should say. Well, let me say it like this. All right. So I get it. I understand branding. I have a lot of conversations with people about their branding, about their messaging, etc., etc. So I understand how important it is, but I want to split out the difference between the types of branding. So there is visible branding, right? Which so many people spend so much time on. Right? Invisible branding is, the logo or your business cards. I cannot believe how long people will sit and wait until they got their business card right, until they got their all this other visible branding stuff in place. One, hold on. 2, 3, right? You know what this is? This is me starting over with different branding campaigns, right? So this one here is when I was I was the hip hop marketer, right? So I did the hip hop marketer thing because I said, you know what? Music needs better marketing. And then here's Hip Hop Radio Shop, right? So been working on the branding for that. I was, what's the other one? I used to have a tagline for what was this? The cash flow king, So I understand branding. I understand doing all that. But there is something more important. The most profitable branding that you can do is not business cards. The most profitable branding you can do is not logos, right? I think there's a story, I believe it's Twitter. Twitter's, when they first got started, their logo, I think it was like $20, right? They spent $20, got a logo, and just start going. What's the point? Do not let your logo, do not let these little things stop you because they're distractions. And ultimately, they are not the biggest branding asset. I'm going to tell you what the biggest branding asset is, but it is not your logo. Right? It wasn't until Twitter had multiple followers, then they say, you know what? I think we got a legit business. Let's go ahead and change the branding. So get this. It is possible to rebrand. People do it all the time, right? I don't know what iteration of Pepsi their brand is on, right? Because people rebrand all the time. It's not that serious. So do not allow yourself to get tied up, to get tangled up in this whole branding thing to the point where it stops you from taking action, because that's visible branding. It doesn't matter. I've been through many organizations and they redo the branding. Hey, oh, you know what? Let's redo the branding. Visible branding is not your most profitable branding asset, right? Now, some people are like, well, of course you would say that, Lee, because you're not paying attention to the. Listen, I understand. Funnel helpers. I got some full extent media stuff. I got some all kind of stuff. So I get it. But I also understand that that's not what gets the business. That's not what gets the business. You do not get the business because your brand is yellow. You do not get the business because your brand is purple and got flakes in the back. It's just facts, right? You get the brand because of the second type of branding. Listen to this. The second type of branding is what I like to call invisible branding. Okay? You get the business, you become a longer lasting entrepreneur if you get what's called invisible branding. And that is the branding that I want to talk to you about today. So, a lot of times, the reason we start with the visible branding is it's easier to quantify. It's easier to measure. Hey, that's kind of cool. Hey, that's interesting. My branding is really good. But it's really it's not the most effective type of branding. So, Lee, how can I measure this invisible branding? You're the funnel helper guy. You like the numbers. You understand matrix, etc., etc. So how can I measure whether or not I have this invisible branding? Good question. Pull up a seat because Lee gonna teach. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I'm just having a good time. I'm usually on in the daytime, but I had to do it tonight. So we're just gonna get into it. Number one, invisible branding can be measured by, right? So you can write it down. Invisible branding can be measured by, number one, what you stand for. Okay? In your brand messaging, I don't care what color your logo is. You need to be able to articulate and to tell people what you stand for, right? What makes you different? Why should I care what color your brand is? So, I'm not ashamed to admit it, but as I'm getting older, so I like McDonald's, but as I'm getting older, McDonald's doesn't like me anymore because my body's like, hey, McDonald's ain't for you no more, Lee. And but okay, I gotta help people on here. But the reason so many people choose McDonald's is it's not because we like the yellow fry looking M's and the red thing, right? That's not why people go to McDonald's. People understand that McDonald's stands for dependability, reliability. So, me personally, I like Whoppers, right? So I went to Burger King, and now this is out of the mouth of babes. This is my daughter. So I went to Burger King, and we got our stuff, and then I'm driving away, and I'm looking, and I'm like, oh man, I didn't give them my second set, my fries, right? So now one of my children missing their fries, right? I'm heading home. I should have checked. I should have checked in the parking lot, but I didn't. So I'm heading home, and you know what my daughter said? She said, you know what? McDonald's don't never miss the fries up, right? She said, I always get the fries from McDonald's. And I'm like, hey, give it a little more time. But what she realizes, the dependability or the structure. I can go to a McDonald's in Orlando. I can go to a McDonald's in Tampa. And like the speed of execution, that's what their brand represents. Their brand represents dependability. Their brand represents, hey, all these things aren't out of order. They're not missing. I ain't talking about nobody. I'm saying I go to other restaurants. Hey, we ain't got that. What you mean we ain't got that? You know what I'm saying? This is a fast food restaurant, right? You know. But anyway, I digress. My point is, What do you stand for? We know McDonald's stands for dependability, fast, efficient food, right? They got the best food delivery system I've seen in a long time, right? But what do you stand for? That's what you need to be focusing on. Not the color of your brand. You can have another graphic designer create another logo and you'll be fine, right? But what does your brand stand for? What do you stand for? So I've been thinking about this. I'm like, man, Lee, um, yeah, you gotta do the visible branding, but the invisible branding, what do I stand for? What is one of the core fundamentals of the foundational beliefs of the Funnel Helper? And you know what it is? I'll tell it to you. Since you're listening to it, I might as well talk to you. One of my core beliefs is I believe that the entrepreneur, okay, I believe that the internet is the great equalizer, okay? I believe, listen to me, the internet is the great equalizer. So if you learn how to use the internet effectively, it will reward you because the internet is the great equalizer. Lee, what does that mean? Listen, that means if you're a mega church or a little bitty church, but you understand how to use the internet, then your little bitty church can compete with the big church. Okay, let me go again. Your one-stop shop, right? You and your small team can compete with the big teams. Why? Because the internet is the great equalizer. You just got to learn the rules of the game. You got to have funnels in place that are converting, right? So that's one of the things I stand for. So when I work with the little person, I don't say, hey, little person, hey, little person named Lee Jr. Hey, this is a big bad internet out here. But if you learn the rules of it, your Facebook ad can show up in the same time feed, news feed, as somebody with a multi-million-dollar budget. Why? Because the internet is the great equalizer, right? I try to teach people how to put their stuff on the internet because it is the equalizer, right? So that's what we stand for, right? What else does your branding stand for? So number one, your branding has to have a message. What's your branding stand for? Because people will start to resonate with that message, with that brand. Hey, now your logo, okay, that's the logo. But when I see the Lexus logo, it's not like, ooh, look at that L, right? It's the brand that's associated. Hey, they stand for quality. They stand for all this other stuff, right? Next, keeping commitments, right? Your brand will be known for whether or not it can keep commitments. Do you do what you say you're going to do? Listen, I'm giving you what's the most profitable brand elements, and that is keeping your commitments. Now, this is one of those make it or break it things on the internet, right? How many people have downloaded something or bought something and never got the download, right? Hey, I saw something on the sales page. I'm like, wow, looks amazing. Let me put in my credit card, enter, flip it over, CVC, enter, right? Hey, I didn't get what I thought I was going to get. So now I'm on support. Like, hey, bruh, hey, home skillet. That's how I talk to internet people. In person, I say, hello, brother and sister. Hello, Mr. and Mrs. So you got to keep your commitments. Another area in which your brand is measured, the important aspects of your brand. Now, this one, hey, I'm going to punch myself on this one, right? I try to give you the truth. So your brand, one of the ways your brand is measured is by your timeliness, right? Your timeliness. Sometimes that's showing up on time. Now, listen. I don't remember the date I was supposed to be born, but I'm pretty sure I came late. And for my whole life, I've been trying to catch up. I've been trying to get on time, right? So give me grace. 40 years, and still ain't quite got it. Except when I was in the military, they're like, hey, you need to be here. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I'm here. But now I'm still trying to catch up because I think I was born late. But I'm trying to rebrand. I'm rebranding my brand to like, okay, timeliness. Another area of timeliness that you're being chosen, that you're being seen on in your branding is your response time. Okay. I was talking to my team this morning, actually, and I say, hey, we really got to get better on the response time that we give to people. I know it. I see the support tickets, and I'm like, man, I really got to work on this, right? I am massaging my brand. I'm working on the invisible branding, which is the most important elements of branding, right? Next, for those just coming in, we're talking about the most profitable aspects of your branding is not the visible branding, it's the invisible branding. What's your company stand for? Are you able to keep the commitments that you make in sales pages and in conversations? Are you timely? How's your response rate? Everybody has been to that barbershop, okay? The barbershop where, hey, cool, I like this barbershop because they give appointments. My appointment is for 8:15. I come in at 8:15. Actually, you know what? I come in 8:10 just in case they run it early. So I'm sitting here. It's 8:10. Hey, no, I'm good. I'm good. I know. I see you recognize me. What's up, bro? Okay. All right. It's 8:15. It's 8:20. It's 8:52. Listen, bro. Listen. I got something to say. At this point, I got something to say, right? So what does that do? Now, you go to another barbershop or you go to another hairdresser, whatever. Your appointment's at 10 o'clock. And when it's 10 o'clock, they're like, hey, come on up. And they start doing the pre-wash, whatever they do, right? You notice their branding is, hey, we respect people's time. We are a timely brand, right? And people remember that. When you tell a person about that hairdresser, about that barbershop, or about that company, you don't say, the one with the little bird, the one with the scissors that go like this. No, you don't say that. You say, hey, listen, you want to be in and out. They be on their appointments, and you're able to get in, right? Why? That's the branding that matters. That's the branding that makes the difference. Attention to detail. Attention to detail. Hey, does your brand pay attention to the details? Because if they do not, then you have a brand of not paying attention to details. So each one of these, put it in your mind like, oh, man, my brand is lateness. My brand is slow response time. My brand is not keeping my commitments. My brand is not paying attention to details. When you start looking at it like that, you're like, dang, I gotta rebrand. I need another logo. Scrap this company, get a whole nother company. But and I'm gonna wrap up. The reason for this conversation is because there's so much talk about branding nowadays, and we're focusing on the wrong thing. I get it. Funnel Helper, hey, I got the logo, got the shirts, got the website, yada, yada, yada. But here's an interesting thing that happened to me today. I got a call from a buddy of mine, and he said, hey, I want to talk with you. You did the website a couple years ago. I want to come back. We want to look at it, yada, 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 right? So at the end, we had a great conversation, good talk. Hey, man, this is awesome. You're awesome, man. How's the family? Yada, yada, yada. At the end of it, I was looking to see when the last time I sent the person the invoice. And I realized that we had been working together off and on since 2015. It's 2019. We've been going off and on since 2015, right? What does that tell me? That tells me that my brand is valuable because between 15 and 2019, there's been a couple different logos on websites. There's been a couple different colors that have represented who I am. But the Invisible brand is the most profitable brand. So I challenge you, make sure you're working on the Invisible brand and not just the color and the t-shirts, etc., etc. Make sure the Invisible brand is on point. Last 2 points. Another way to measure your invisible brand is the value you create for others. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Are you listening? I have gone to websites, slow load time, menu all jacked up, couldn't find, like the search didn't work as well, but the content on the site, when the guy did the walkthrough on the YouTube video and he was screen sharing his screen, I said, wow, I never saw that. Wow, that's interesting. That's how that works. Oh, value, value, value. So, what am I saying? While the rest of the world, while the rest of the people are putting their focus on having shiny this and hey, new brands and new colors and new fancy whatchamacallits, right? You focus on the invisible branding, and over the long term, you will get higher and bigger referrals. I got referred to a company and like literally it made me nervous. I said, this is a big deal. This, can I do this? This is a big deal. But how did I get there? I got there because I had been working on my invisible branding, right? Your visible branding can get you to the room. It can get you in the conversation. Your invisible branding keeps you in the proposal process, right? Your invisible branding keeps you in the conversation, right? Because the way it works is no one says, hey, what do you think about Full 6 Media or Lee? Well, that logo's on point though. You know what I'm saying? That's not what they say. They say, you know what? He has a great work ethic, right? He's going to help you understand what you're doing, and he's going to pay attention to details. The little tech stuff that people don't really care about. I talk to clients, I'll be like, yeah, so this, and they're like this. Yeah, and if you add the parentheses under it, you can have the bro. They don't care, but they know that my attention to detail is what they're paying for. They know that my response time, my excellence and work ethic is what they're willing to pay for. So I ask you, are you spending so much time on your branding? Are you spending so much time on your color palette? And I get it. We're going through one now with a couple companies, right? So it's important, but that was after. That was after we got the messaging down. That was after we looked at operations and able to do it. That was after we paid attention to details so that the funnel was in place so that we actually making money. Because if you're not making money, if your sales funnel isn't in place, if you don't have a sales system, if you don't have language, then that beautiful logo that you have will be on your desk collecting dust. But when you work on the invisible branding, when you build that integrity over time, your referrals keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and you get put in bigger rooms. All right. My name is Lee Fuller, aka the Funnel Helper. And if you are looking for somebody that has attention to detail, if you're looking for somebody that has a work ethic that's verifiable, and if you're looking for someone that has your best heart at mind, your best in his mind, your best at hand, if you looking for somebody that has your best at heart, I think that's what I was going for, right? I'm not the best speaker, but put me behind a computer and we're going to make some magic happen. My name's Lee Fuller, aka the Funnel Helper. Thank you for watching. I go into different topics inside the Funnel Helpers group. So if you're not in the Funnel Helpers group, then you need to be in the Funnel Helpers group. Search on Facebook for Funnel Helper Community Group. I go in and I go live. I believe this Friday I'm doing a funnel review. So if you want me to take a look at your funnel, go ahead and put it in the Funnel Helper community. It's public site, ain't tripping. I just like to help people because that's in the name. You see that? My name's Lee Fuller, aka the Funnel Helper. Thank you for your time and go out, be amazing. The internet is the great equalizer. Learn how to use it, and you're on plane with everybody else. All right, talk to you soon. Bye. Stop.